What's good, everybody? This is Anthony from the About That Wallet podcast show. We have awesome opportunities today to actually have a cool guest. Man, I've been listening to this guy's podcast for like, 2018, and then you did a lot of moves since then, and now you got your own show. So, welcome to the show, Marcus. How you been?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Appreciate you for having me, sir.
Hey, anytime, anytime. Let's go and get you a round of applause here, man. Let's go. Let's go. All right, all right. There we go. There we
All
go.
right. All right. I see it's about to get real here.
Yeah,
Y'all.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
already in
You
the,
know,
the presence of greatness. The presence
yeah.
of greatness here.
Let's go. Let's see. Give my little intro here. I got a little intro. I had this specially done like so long ago, and I'm trying to put it back together. Let's see what we got.
You've already
In a
done more.
world.
Huh?
I said you've already done more than I've ever done with this podcast since 2018.
Let's get this in here. Let's see what this intro look like.
In a world where financial advice is as blurry as a wild night of cheap Jello shots, clear your head and your monetary halitosis with the About That Wallet show hosted by Anthony Weaver. Leave those Jello shots for the amateurs and learn to indulge in the top shelf bottles, baby. Now, here's your host, Anthony Weaver.
And we got a special guest today. So, what do you think about that? What do you think about the intro?
Is that AI? I mean, who's your voice guy? Who's your voice? Because I'm like, I'm a little offended that you didn't reach out. But, other than that, it's pretty hot. It's pretty hot.
Yeah. Well, it was a guy that I met through somebody else, and I was like, you know what, this is pretty cool. I was like, his voice is completely different when you talk to him one-on-one, but when he did the voice thing, I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. So
guy of a guy.
Yeah.
The EA Sports TikTok.
Right. I got like 6. He gave me 6 of these joints. So I voted, like the audience voted. They was like, I like that a little better. So that's what we did. Hey, what's going on, man? I'd like to say hi to the audience. If you guys out there, go ahead on and chat in the thing. I see you guys in here, but I want to give you guys y'all air horns because you know what I'm saying, y'all put in the work, and I couldn't do this show without you. Yo. So what's going on? Mom is in the house. We got Vern going on. So you said Vern, she's actually starting out the show. So Vern is saying, I would say savings and budgeting. And this is one of the hot topics. Marius, you reached out and said it, it's pretty cool that you got got some hot topics from 2023. And I think this would be a good topic right now to kind of talk about if we're going to see the same or things are going to change in 2024.
For savings and budgeting, I say the principles are always going to be the same, spend less than you earn, et cetera, et cetera. I'm seeing what's different is higher yield savings accounts. So for people who don't want to take risk, you had all this advice for like say roughly last 5 years because they're paying like 0.03. Oh, by the way, Capital One is still paying 0.03. So go search that news story. They're advertising 4.3 for like Capital Premium savings, and they're paying Capital savings at 0.3. So if you think you're getting that 4.3% rate, Google it because you might not be. They might get sued. And I'll take 10% off top if you get in the bag.
You take 10%. You gotta get your coins. I understand.
I gotta do what I can.
Right.
So I guess what I'm trying to say there is I think the advice has changed at least for the foreseeable next 12 months or so, that you can get if you don't want to take any risk, you can get a good return just sitting your money in a savings account, 4 to 5% with no risk. That's something you couldn't have seen in just 2020 before, definitely pre-pandemic.
Yeah. And because before we went live, I went on to put out a question out there, which is, what is one financial topic you feel is important for your family? And I think this is an important concept because, what I'm saying, we talk about the top 2023 financial topics because we got to end out the year, but also, how is it really going to impact us? And I think that first we need to figure out what does our family feel is that something that we need in our lives. And obviously we, personal finance is personal, and here we are. So all right, let's see who else we got in here. There's room. I don't even know your name, but I see you come through from time to time. Hey, if you could put your name and thing, I don't want to say like there's room. Like
I actually think that's I actually like the name. I like the little pseudonym. I don't know if
Yeah.
it stands for something. So I can see the chat, but I'm not in the chat, FYI. So I am monitoring, but by the time I got to the little join the chat button, we was already started. I'll probably crash something if I try to join now.
Right.
So I'm just gonna let it slide.
You probably will, but I can always bring it back. It's cool. It's cool. We can probably do like a small commercial break. I got a couple commercials we can throw in there.
Bet.
Do you want to just go on and dive right into the first topic?
All right, so kind of how methodology, if you will, of how we got here. I went and looked at my trending topics for the first 90 days of 2024, coming in at number one with like 3,000 likes right now, and I think something ridiculous like 300,000 views or something like that. Is the top 1% of salary. Oh, you got it on the screen here.
Of course. Gotcha.
Household. So people were actually most interested in top 1%. These are household figures and broken down by age, and it's cited from the US Bureau, but it comes from Nick, last name I can't remember, of Dollars and Data. So I like to cite my sources. I feel like that differentiates me out here in the public, because it'd be like, man, I read this on Google, and my mama said, and I'm like,
My mama said.
what kind of authoritative source is your mama?
You
My auntie. I was like, I can't talk to these people. So these are cited from the U.S. Census Bureau of Dollars and Data. So at top 1% for age 24 to enter, I'll start at age 20. To enter is 129,000. Down here for me, actually, y'all can guess. I'm not going to say exactly where I am. Let me go in order. 25 to enter is 300,000. At 30 is 400,000. But I think most people, including present company, to be perfectly honest with you, what I was surprised by when I started researching these numbers, because people were really interested in this information, I dropped the average salary, and then it kind of just started this entire thread discussion on Instagram, was you look at the top 10%, and I'm going from memory, but I think it was like 120,000 for a single earner to get into the top 10%. And people were like,
Wow.
I think they were surprised by that figure, which means you're making more than 90% of Americans. But to get into the top 1% is another 150,000. Top 1% is like 300,000. So like you're doing well, middle to upper middle class, whatever y'all want to argue about today, I'm happy to do so. But then like that next echelon to 1% is another 100,000. And then where you really start seeing that wealth is that when you start getting into those like decimals, like that 0.0000%, like that's the millionaires and billionaires
Right.
down there, in this case at 55 and 59.
That's crazy. Oh, and Tari. I met Tari at FinCon last year. So, that's who it is. Hey, Tari.
Shout
Thanks
out.
for joining the show.
Thank you for joining.
You. So, I mean, looking at these numbers, it makes you feel as though you're not doing anything. Like I feel broke watching this.
See, that's interesting to me. That's why I like doing posts like this. I think I've been in audit for like 20, 25 years. I've been looking at these numbers for 2 decades. So number one, they're every now and then they're surprising to me, like that gap between 10% and 1%, and then 0.001%. Those were surprising to me. But it's not like disappointing to me. It lets me know, for me, it's like where I stand. For me, it normalizes some things. So at 27, at 27, I would have dropped down because I was not doing 142, but I was at top 5% at 24. But at that
nice.
time, I did not feel like I was making a lot of money. Some of it was lifestyle creep. Some of it is this mindset, and I'm seeing this a lot. Actually got a great question in that I'm still trying to figure out how to answer about first generation. The burden that falls on first generation, in this case, it was college graduates that have to support themselves, their family, and likely beyond that. So I'm still trying to figure out how to answer that question. But it's like, I feel like I'm doing well. I'm moving up, but it never feels like enough. And I felt that way at 27. I am older than 27 now. And, looking at these figures, it actually gives me some comfort. Like, at least I'm not alone. Like, this is a big grouping for me to be in. And I find comfort in that. But I think my wife is like you. She would, and she's upper. She doesn't. She's not part of the personal finance community, so I would like putting her
Right.
business out there. But she's upper.
Yeah, yeah.
She's an engineer, and she sees that, and we kind of have two different perspectives. We actually literally had a conversation about this. I started to do a reel about it, but sometimes I do reels that lead to fights, so I have to have to think about how I'm gonna go. But we were talking about there's a bathroom right here to my left. It's a spare bathroom, right?
Yeah.
And I had opened the
Next
curtain.
to the couch where you get stayed at. Like,
Yeah,
we should kick you out.
exactly. Yeah. And I had opened the curtains one day because I'm the primary one that uses the bathrooms right next to the office that I'm in right now.
Right.
And she's like, "Why'd you open the curtain?" And like she closed it, and I didn't think nothing of it, whatever. I'm like,
Mhm.
"You just being a wife,
Right.
And this, I opened it another day, and like finally one day I was like, "Why do you want the curtain open? Like what?" And she are closed, and she was like, "I don't want to know if someone's behind there." This was eye opening to me, and I realized there are two people in the world, maybe three. There are people who don't want to know what's behind the curtain.
Right.
Like they don't want to know these facts and figures and 10% or 1%. They just want to, make their money, go their 9 to 5 and make their way through life. If there's a serial killer behind the curtain, I want the curtain open. I want a fighting chance. I want to
Right.
tussle. I want to get a chance to get active. Now he's got a head start with this closed curtain situation. Like,
Because you could be going down there, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, man, I gotta go use this bathroom, pass down to the ankles, and next thing you know,
he back there like, he don't
right,
even know
you gonna get this work.
what he about to get himself into. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I feel like that's a metaphor because I think I'm only 2 years or a year and a half technically into my marriage. So I'm still in the learning phase.
Oh wow! Whoa! Congrats on the marriage.
Thank you. My father had been married. How old am I? Over 40 years. That's not my age.
Okay.
He's been married over 40 years, and he's still learning stuff to this day. So that's not to say that it's like a finish line that I will reach, but I do feel like that, jokes aside, it's kind of like a love language. Like that is a mentality.
Mhm.
And it connected so many other dots to conversations we had. Because I'm like, hey, let's sit down and let's plan our budget for the next 10 years. And let's look at our retirement plan. We should probably sit with an estate planner and maybe work out a will. And she's like, I'm trying to get to Friday.
She's like, I don't need it behind the curtains. Like,
There's a new episode. Yeah, there's a new episode of Community coming out on Friday. That's what I'm trying to make it to.
Nice.
Bob's Burgers comes out on Thursday.
It does. Right.
That's my milestone for the week,
But also, it's like when you have, I guess, when you're in that struggle and you figuring yourself out and all this stuff is fun financially, it's like, let's talk about it. Like, have somebody else talk about it. And that's one of the reasons why I had to do the podcast, because I was like, people tired of me talking about it. I was like, but the internet isn't. So here we are.
And to your point, and I probably should, you got to do your welcome to your new audience. I'm sure you're familiar with this. So I have what could be called a new audience on Instagram. I had like a big growth lately. And so I do this as a point of salary transparency to encourage these conversations. I feel that we are all made broker and poorer when we don't know, not as a means of I'm doing better than, but like how are our peer groups faring? Because if I looked at that chart again and I'm down here and we got the same job title, but you're like, yeah, oh man, 10%. Like you see in the comments, I'm like, didn't I go to high school with this dude? I want to start doing some math. Like, am I getting underpaid? Like, that is like not intimidating. It's informative, and then I take actions from there.
And I think it's encouraging because that's one of the things that caused me to move around to different jobs, is because like one job, I was super excited about the job. It was shift work. I could work at night. I was going to school in the morning. And then I asked somebody like, so how much are you getting paid like to do this job? They was like, well, we're making about $22 an hour. I was like, oh, they only paying me 17. And I'm doing 4 different help desks and you only doing 1. They was like, yeah. Plus you're doing mine too. Like I was doing their help desk too. At this point, it was like a help desk that had like 5 different like companies that will call in to the same thing. So I had like 2 monitors and two different call tracking systems that I do in and remote into all the different systems and everything like that. So having that, and I'm like only $17 an hour. It's time for me to get a new job. So I was like, yeah, I need to make this happen. So that's what happened, and that's why I always say, like, if you're in the IT realm, you cannot stay inside the same job for more than 2 years. Gotta go, gotta go.
I think this is going to be a question, but what's also been eye opening to me, and I see it in comments and feedback I get from the audience as well, is how few managers advocate for you. I
Mhm.
think a lot of people think, I would say incorrectly, but I don't blame them for this thought process. It's honestly what we're taught, that, I go to college,
Yeah,
our technical score, whatever your career pathway will be, but I will get a job, and that job will transcend me through, whatever the career pathway or career ladder is. And I personally have found that to be untrue. In that, like you're saying, you've got to either advocate for self, do for self. And it has been the exception where a boss goes, hey, this is a good employee. I'm sure your boss knew that your coworker made 17, you made 22. A
yeah.
good boss advocates like, hey, this is a discrepancy here. What can I do to bring Anthony up to the level that he should be paid at? Also knowing that I'm going to lose him otherwise if he, I guess they prey on that lack of salary transparency that you won't find out.
And that's what most of them do. Because I think at one point when I was studying from a master's degree, they were like, "Well, we don't have a master's degree. We don't have any certifications." So they would just pretty much, keep me out the loop on how to advance. And so I found that out after I left, which is weird because somebody else was trying to save face and didn't say anything until after I left. So I was like, it would have been nice if you would have told me sooner, but they just didn't want any animosity or whatever. So I was like, it is what it is. So
Go ahead.
no, go ahead.
I'm reminded now. This is, I think, a popular influencer woman that I am quoting here. I don't want to get dragged in the street. Marcus out here taking people's quotes, so I don't know who it was. I saw the TikTok like everybody else, but I remember the phrase that she used because it stuck with me, and I repeat it ever since. And it's gatekeepers. So you have these
Mm,
individuals. Sometimes they do it consciously. A lot of people, I think, do it subconsciously. So a show that I was watching recently, which was funny because they were in government, which I worked in for a long time, and it's Reacher. Great
mhm.
show, by the way, for those who
Oh,
like,
Reach is really
yeah,
good.
soap
Yeah.
opera like. I love it. My wife hates. She's like, this is a soap opera. This is a male soap opera. That being said, there's a
Yeah, it is
quote
true.
in there, and he says, "Animosity looks a lot like." Um, Animosity looks a lot like incompetence, but the
Mm,
latter is far more competent, or the
yes.
latter is far more common. Most
Mhm.
people are incompetent, but
Yeah.
they harm you through your work, through their inability to get you paid $22 like you're supposed to level set your employee pay. Because, like you said, they as a manager would then have to do work. That's, I would argue, incompetence. That's not animosity, but the outcome is going to be the same in that you are going to be underpaid. And so she was talking about these gatekeepers. So you have the incompetent side, but the side that's actually working against you is, so let's say in your example,
It's the Peter principle.
oh yeah,
And this is exactly what this book is talking about.
right.
So, yeah.
So let's say your manager, boss, director, or whomever, and it could go either way. Let's say they have less degrees than you, less certification. So they're like, man, I want to promote Anthony up, make me look bad. Like, who does he think
Mhm.
he is? So they're projecting, gatekeeping their insecurities on you. The other side of it is, I have a master's degree and I went to an Ivy League school and Anthony didn't. So he doesn't look like me. And for some reason, I'm comfortable with all these blue-eyed, blonde-haired people that look like me and went to school like me. I'm comfortable with them. So I'm going to ensure they get $23 an hour. And it's
Mhm.
like, it is the outcome is gatekeeping, although the action is not animosity, or
Mm.
the motivation for the action is not animosity.
And I find that very interesting because, like you said, people are more than likely promoted to their incompetence,
Mm.
which I kind of agree that it should happen. Only because if you want to stretch yourself and actually grow, you need to be pushed. But in order to be pushed, sometimes either you're forced inside that mindset because either A, you got fired, so now you got to go try something different because what you're trying before doesn't work anymore, or two, you have to really be upset with the idea of what's going on, and you have to be upset, like, the situation that you're in, to start looking at other areas in life and how we can make that happen.
And let me see. This might tie to the
It'll tie
second
up to a
one.
second. Yep,
Um,
I got you.
what I was gonna say is open-ended question, I guess, to the chat or listening audience or whoever watches this video in the future as well is what happened to training programs? So it actually even goes to what you're talking about. When I came out of school, my first two jobs, if not my first three, paid for all of my certifications.
Oh wow,
I had to pay for the I got three. I had to pay
nice.
for the certifications four.
Right.
That's how relevant they are to my day-to-day experience. But I had to pay for them out of pocket to take the test. But they recognized that being a certified body, we want a certified, credible workforce. We're going to reimburse. And they used to pay for school. They used to pay for certification. Now, I know some of this is, a lack of loyalty, and maybe we could talk about that as well. Whereas my last three, if not my last six, is like, good luck to you. Like, yeah, if you like, we would love for you to get your master's degree
Mhm.
on your dime,
Well, you know.
we and then you see there in the job description, like, master's degree preferred, but you're on your own to get it at a
Yeah.
time you make the least amount of money to provide for it. Like, so what happened to these training programs seem to have just gone away, unless you have a different experience.
Uh, um, One of the things that I have to say, I haven't taken advantage of a lot of that stuff. Even to where I'm at now, it's just that they overfill me with so much work. It's tough to take advantage of some of these programs. And then if I'm out even no more than 2 days, I'm getting phone calls like, "Yo, where you at? Hopefully everything's all right." I'm like, "Yo, how about I'm on vacation?" like,
I'm
like
great.
leave me alone. Right.
Exactly. So
So,
this second one, which I actually do think it ties together. So
mhm.
this one was interesting to me for a lot of reasons. So it comes from Bankrate. I think it was published by Yahoo Finance, surveyed like 2,000 Americans. But the question was, they asked two questions. What annual income would you need to feel financially secure or comfortable? So
Mm.
that figure you see up there at the top is the average. So to feel comfortable, and people have asked me, is this individual or household? I didn't run the survey. I don't know. But I think they polled individuals. So an individual wants, on average, 233,000 to feel comfortable.
Mhm.
The reason I keep emphasizing that word. There's another survey from the same group, and it was over 400,000 to feel rich. So 200,000 to feel comfortable, which makes sense. Probably people
Yeah.
are like, "Well, I need twice this to feel rich."
Mhm.
But what was crazy to me is this list is basically the inverse of what you see in the demographics today. So men are probably the highest paid on this list, and I'm not making that as a sexist statement. I just mean
Right.
to the data. But so they're like, oh, I just need 229,000. Black Americans, individual and household, again to the data,
Mhm.
uh, make the least. So, of course, in their minds, are like, I have to ask for the most. So, Black Americans are the highest on this list. I rank it over here to the right by
Yeah, see.
the who's asking the most. So, you got Black Americans at 322,000 to feel financially secure. Gen
Well,
X. Oh, good.
can we talk about that for a second? Because if we think about it from Black American and more than likely the culture itself, we are almost like the first generation to kind of say, you know what, $100,000 or six-figure income was kind of like that that drive to say, like, you know what, I made it. But if you add on the additional 200,000, which is like, okay, now I got the 100, let me at least own my property. Now I can own my property, and now I have a little extra for my kids. So it's almost like that catch up money, not like literal catch up, but
You know, I literally posted this month, so I've got the rest of this year, not the rest of my life, to reflect on it. But my immediate takeaways, because somebody, obviously a lot of people, I mean, well, maybe not obviously, but majority of my audience is African Americans. Probably not surprising to anyone maybe anyone that is not African American. They might be shocked, like, for real? But that being said, I looked at it from two different ways. One, everything I just said before. Two, Black Americans, and I think they're speaking to African Americans. I don't think they're breaking this down by island or anything like that. So Black African Americans in the United States. They're also overrepresented in cities. So I'm wondering if this data is being skewed because they're like, well, I live in San Francisco, where, a lot of us, maybe not all of us, are aware that viral study that came out from the State Department that said a family of four needs to make like 200,000 to be what I think poor.
Yeah, to be poor, yeah.
I think poor was defined as like 200,000 for a family of four in California. So you think about the LAs, the Atlantas. Atlanta just dropped a study, I think the Atlantic, that Atlanta has the biggest discrepancy between the wealthy and the poor of any city in the United States.
Mm.
And so you think about, your Detroit, your New York, some cities in Florida. I'm just trying to think of heavily Black American populations: Houston, Dallas, San Antonio, maybe not San Antonio. But you're looking at your lived experience. You're like, one, you're seeing this disparity. There's all those talks about across the railroad, and there's rich across the railroad, and then there's middle to poor class on the other side of the railroad, and that's defined, or that's represented in so many cities. And so you're like, yeah, I've got to quadruple or triple my income to live like that, which is what I see every day, which I identify as wealth, correctly or incorrectly.
Right.
And the other interesting one to me was Gen X, which I think are 49 right now. I think 49 and up is. First of all, I might have offended some Gen X. I think it's 42 and up. I think millennials end at 41. But I was surprised.
Yeah, I think about 41, 42.
That they're saying they need 250,000 as well. But I assume that's because they're, that's family age. They're either married with kids, thinking about retirement. So it was just it was a really, and I guess I was not alone, because I think this post has a few thousand likes and shares in that. So I don't know if you have any other takeaways, but that's hot topic number 2 coming out in 2024.
Well, I would say that looking at it, because you do got that in between generation, and what I mean by in between generation is, for those of you who aren't familiar with the term, is that you are at the age where you have your own kids and you're taking care of them, but also you're taking care of your parents. So like your parents are a little older, they can't move around as much. They like not as mobile. So they kind of either live with you or you live near them to kind of take care of them from time to time. And then also you got to deal with your own kids. And that's what I call like I mean, I guess society really called it like that sandwich generation that you have to deal with. And so your money is kind of split both ways. So when you look at the finances, in the sense, it's like, all right, your parents are old enough; they can kind of take care of their own. They got the life insurance ready. The house should be close to being paid off. And then either you might have moved into that same household, so you don't have to need as much to play catch up. And right now, you're just worrying about your kids. So that's why I was thinking about just looking at the numbers and thinking critically about the whole situation.
Yeah, I'm curious how many people have that, going back to that example, lived experience. Not a a demographic, not a survey by any means. I'm thinking of my 5 friends. 2, and I think including my parents, although they sold that home. I know one whose parents paid off their home. Now,
Mhm.
obviously, this isn't a conversation you sit around and talk about with all your friends, like, who got your parents pay off your home? But I know that
Right.
because his father passed and the insurance plan paid for everything. All the debt that they had,
Oh,
paid off
good.
the home, paid for the college debt, and the family was effectively debt free. It was the American dream, is how it's supposed to
Mhm.
be done. Um, so I'm wondering, but to me, that's the exception. I don't hear a lot of that. I do know the stat is something to, I think only 1 in 3 pay off their home or live in a mortgage-free home. Because you got to think about between refinancing and downsizing and sales, mostly refinancing. People do that in their 30s, 40s, and 50s. I dropped a story today about a woman with $127,000 in credit card debt and over $600,000 in total debt, including the home.
Wow.
So it's not like that's not a, as you talked about, personal finance, but fiscal responsibility is not a age limited.
It's not limited.
So I don't know. Maybe the chat can weigh in or start to think about themselves and their friends, like whom, like you. I guess what you're saying is Big Mama's house. Like,
Yeah.
whose lived experience is the Big Mama house now, where the home is paid off? At least one home in the family is paid off.
Yeah. All right. Before we get to topic 3, 4, 5, take a small commercial break. Talk about pod decks. Have you ever used pod decks?
Are you saying pod ducks?
Decks, like a cards. I'm sorry.
So clearly, I have not, because I don't even know what it's called.
Cool. All right. So I'm gonna say the little commercial and come right back.
This episode is powered by Pod Decks. Pod decks are unique interview questions and episode starting prompts in the palm of your hand. So whether you're a new podcaster or existing broadcaster looking to grow your audience and have more meaningful conversations, you're going to want to check out Pod decks. Now, if you want to get 10% off your order right now, you can go to poddecks.com and type in coupon code. What's the code? Yes, that's the code. Check out poddecks.com. Take your podcast to the next level.
All right. So this is Pod Decks for those of you who are listening on the audio side of the house. If you want to get 10% off, go down and use the promo code WALLET, WALLET, and you can actually get Pod Decks. The cool reason why I use Pod Decks is because, hey, you never know. You can have some questions. You could be out on a date and just don't know what to talk about. Flip out your phone. Don't flip out anything else but your phone. And just ask questions. And hopefully she doesn't give you the side eye. So these are quick, rapid questions. I'm doing this or that type question. You can either say whichever it is, or if you can explain if you want to or not. I'm going to just do like 3 of these. And let's go for it. So the first one is... the front seat or the back seat?
Oh, and back. I got to explain why.
If you want to.
I do not want to.
Okay. Take the back seat. I got you. You said the front seat or back seat?
I said the back seat.
Back seat. All right. Mend fences or burn bridges?
I'm a burn bridge guy. Yeah.
Explains what that conversation we had earlier. Why nobody reach out to you?
It does. You know, I gotta own it. You know what I'm saying? Walk in your pettiness, you know.
All right. Third one is hand sanitizer or moist towelettes?
Hand sanitizer. Statement, not question.
Okay. All right, this is the last one because this is a money situation. Is self-made, and this is on topic. Self-made or inherit money?
I would love to inherit. All things held equal, I'd like to be self-made. So $1 million or $233,000 a year. Sticking with the question earlier, there's $233,000 a year out there to be made, and they could be made in both of those. I'd like to be self-made.
Hey, there you go. Awesome. All right. So you call this segment Short Kings. So can you explain a little bit what the heck is Short Kings?
That I'm going to have to attribute to TikTok, or at least that's the first place that I saw it. And it is very popular, by the way. So it seems to be, I'm going to include anyone 5'11" and a half and shorter seems to fall in the demographic. Like you said, there might be some overlap, like an ex-king, but it seems to be exennial. Anyone 5'11" and a half, and I'm using and a half because that's what they used in this study, is a hashtag short king. And obviously, I think anyone that falls shorter than 5'11" and a half is a certified short king. So the short king will rise up
This
in the
type
head
of
first.
people. Right. So we got a couple ladies in the chat. What do y'all consider as a as a guy as a short king? Because I mean I see y'all being a little quiet back there, but I'm curious because you know I myself I give myself a little extra inch, but that's the reason why I keep my hair a little tall. You know what I'm saying? Give me a little extra inch just for the illusion. But
I,
you know,
if they answer, I feel like they should say their height and then what's short, because they're gonna be like
ah,
5. They're gonna be like 6'4" short, and I'm
right.
5'2". So I knew, that's why we need that range to know
Yeah,
what
we
we
need
work
that
with.
range.
I'm not in a judgment free zone, by the way.
Right.
So yes, in full transparency, 5'11" and Tim's. I just made a video about this, so y'all can
Okay.
run with that as y'all want. So I'm certified. Well, I'm not certified, but I am a short king. So I tip my crown to my short king. If I had a hat, I would tip
Right.
it right now.
Little Timmy tail. Right. I say I'm like 6 even with the hair as high
I'm
as
like
it is.
with or without the hair.
Without the without the hair, I would sit at like 5'11".
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm like right there. That's cool though. All right, so you did this thing on IG. I'm going on to display this here.
Appreciate you.
All right, let's see what Margaret see what he had to say. Let's see.
So where it all began, and I need to give you an updated
Want me
link.
pause it?
Oh, okay, no, okay, that's the video. Okay, yeah, you
Yeah.
can go ahead and play. You can let it run through.
All right.
So y'all can watch the video while I narrate here in the background. So it actually started.
What does
You want me to do it with the audio or no audio?
Yeah, let's do the self-explanatory. I think it's only a minute long.
Cool.
height have to do with salary? Here's what I found. The University of Chicago looked at 22,000 dating profiles to look at height and income trade-offs when it comes to how attracted women are to taller men. You said you were 5'8". According to that study, a 5'8" man would need to earn $200,000 to be as attractive as a 6-foot man online. Unfortunately, the short man's burden doesn't end when he logs off the dating websites. Tall men are also overrepresented in the C-suite. Among the total population, about 15% of men are over 6 feet tall, but among CEOs, nearly 60% of men are 6 feet tall. In this other study, Forbes found that your height has a big impact on your salary, even for you at 5'8". On average, you can expect to make $4,000 more than your 5'6" brothers. This short king conspiracy reaches the highest of Oval Offices. In fact, 40% of our U.S. presidents are at least 6 feet tall, including the last 3 presidents. Our tallest president was Abraham Lincoln at 6'4". Our current president is 6 foot. Donald Trump was our third tallest president at 6'3", followed closely by Barack Obama at 6'2". Here is your average man from the Bureau of Labor Statistics and from the CDC. I was then asked,
it's starting over.
what does height?
You say it again?
I say it's starting over.
Okay. Yeah, so that's some pretty cool statistics.
So a few takeaways, a few sources cited. So because people try to call me out on this, which is actually I find hilarious because that's my bread and butter. Like I love when people call me out. I go dig into the data. So it started. I posted the average man, and I've been posting the average man. I pretty much update it every year. I usually post age, height, salary, updated for. I've been doing this since like 2018. It always gets people riled up. It gets the short kings riled up. They're usually the ones that come from wherever they come under the bridges. I don't know. They are usually the first to show up. So someone was like, someone asked, okay, can you do that same information by age range, which is what's shown there? I was like, sure, but I will admit I wasn't thinking, and I put average salary, and like people ran with it. What does salary have to do with height? Instead of the average man. I'm like, this is the third post. I do this every year. So it was funny that this one took off. And I think one of the most like comments was like, what does height have to do with salary? And I was like, honestly, I don't know. But I'll go look into it. And that's kind of where I found this fascinating information. And that study from the University of Chicago, I thought they had looked at like, usually when there's a survey, it's like, 500 people. We asked 1,000 people. We stopped some idiots on the street. They looked at 22,000 dating profiles. So it's not a small like
Pool or
sample
something.
size.
Right.
Like it's valid. It's valid. It was studied by the University of Chicago,
Mhm.
and they looked at the main takeaway, which I thought was hilarious. I posted this in like 2021 the first time. A 6-foot man could make negative $500. He would be more
What?
attractive than a 5'6" man. They
Wow.
normalized at 60,000, which I assume is probably like the average male earner. I don't know why they chose 60,000, but for whatever reason, they normalized at 60,000. So they
Mhm.
said, how attractive would short men need to be online, to be very clear, short kings. I'm not picking on y'all, which is what they accuse me of, because everyone's a protected class at this point. So you got
You
anything
said a
you say,
protected
yeah, you got to put an asterisk on everything. I'm not trying to offend nobody. I am
Right.
a fellow short king, not certified, but I am a fellow short king. So as a fellow short king online, a 6-foot man earning 60,000, they go down to 5 foot, but I'm not gonna be that disrespectful. So let's start at 5'6", and this is what was on Yahoo News. The headline, which I thought Yahoo News was disrespectful. Short Kings. This is a headline. This is a
Right.
national news headline. Short Kings rise and grind. Study says 5'6" men need to earn $175,000
What?
more a year to be as
What?
desirable as a 6-foot man. Y'all can go
What?
Google it right now. You can Google it while you're listening to this show.
Well, let's see. Hold on. Let me find this out. Say
Yahoo
it one more
Finance.
time. Yahoo Finance.
Type in
Let me
short
let me go
kings.
on and share this
There's 2
thing so everybody
articles
can see
actually.
me.
I'm gonna see
All
which
right.
one comes up.
So you
Yahoo
said,
Finance,
mm-hmm.
short kings.
I cannot believe it's actually a thing.
So
Okay.
the other one's talking about the shortest people.
So you want
in
the first
NBA.
one?
No, it's the
Oh.
second one. I thought the first one was equally funny. It's the short kings. It's the short kings. I think that's the
What?
third one you clicked.
Oh, the PC game. My bad.
Oh yeah.
No, the second one. Short kings face another injustice. Oh, K3
Short
side.
king. There you go. Short kings rise and grind. The third one.
Oh,
or
the third
fourth
one.
There we go. Yep.
So I wonder what the heck she got to say about
Who is
Short King.
Michelle Collins? I
No,
might
you
have.
know,
Might
you
be my
want to
next
listen to
video.
this?
No,
Okay, he
because
said
I have
no.
no idea what it's going to say.
Right, that is true.
The problem with these shows,
Right.
yeah, we get co-canceled.
Right. Well, I mean, like Vern up here saying, "Nah, it's not true, brother. You have to bring some coins." So, I mean, she's like, "Hey, regardless of what your height is, you need to bring some money." I know that's right. She was like, "You better bring all those coins." You know what I'm saying? All of them. All right. So, short kings rise and grind. Study says 5'6" men need to earn. That's ridiculous.
So I think, just scroll. I think it's in bold, like the key points. So that's the
Okay.
article. So I think it's a woman holding her hand like this, and she's like 6 inches.
Oh, yeah.
6 inches is worth 175,000.
I am not playing that one.
I
Okay.
haven't listened to that video, so I have no idea what she's talking about in that one.
All right.
That might be a co-cancel video. I don't like to play stuff live that I haven't
Right.
seen. Marcus agrees with. That
Well, this show isn't that popular yet, so we're not quoted on most places.
It will be. This
It will be.
the one you told. Marcus and Anthony seen agreeing with.
Right. We get posted up on Anthony O'Neill. Like, Anthony O'Neill will pull us to
be on the shade room in the background. They like those three. The still frame.
Yeah. Like these two.
What does it say there? In the case of and it went to demographic. I didn't even touch.
Oh wow, they took the Hispanic men.
Yeah, it goes into demographic breakdown too. See, I didn't even touch that. Like I know where to
they're not even that. They're not that tall though. On average.
You said it.
Okay, you said. I said.
I'm back here. I'm back here. Actually, let me get out the screenshot because this probably be the one that's going to be on the shade room.
I was just saying, in the case of white men who make 62, Asian will have to make.
Wow. I want them to be able to get a screenshot of just you.
Wow. He said, you go move to the side. But that's crazy. Like, so a white guy who makes 62,000, an Asian man will have to make $309,000 a year to be seen as equally attractive in the eyes of a white woman.
Well, what I think.
But it depends on who's being surveyed. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I'm not going to make an excuse for this, but what I think online dating does, and I would argue the internet in general, is it normalizes for all the bias that you can hide in public. So
Mm,
if you prefer tall white men, but that might be frowned upon to say in this day and age, in
right,
this day and
right.
age, there's no one to catch you except the University of Chicago when they anonymize your data. Looked into facts and figures, and you can use whatever example you want to use with the Hispanic, and I think the Asian is in here as
Asian,
well.
yeah.
And then even normalizing or what is it? Normalizing for other causal factors. I think it's
Mhm.
for education, income, even when adjusted for those. Taller people are overrepresented in positions of power. I think it was
Yeah.
60% of CEOs. So 15% of the population, actually less than 15% of the population is over 6 foot. I had to research all this for the video,
Right.
which I thought was surprising. Actually, even as a man, I thought there was taller men out there. I think the NBA skews everybody's bias. You just think 6 foot dudes are running around everywhere.
Exactly.
But
It's
they
like
seem to.
nobody was trying
Yeah,
to.
I guess 70% of that 15% is in the NBA. The other 30%, which is still 15% of the population,
Baseball.
walking around. Yep, sports. And then 40% of presidents, which was 19. The tallest president, Abraham Lincoln, 6'4". Donald Trump was 6'3". Barack Obama, I didn't know this, was 6'2",
Yeah.
and Biden is 6'1". So even our last three presidents are probably
Above
top
6.
10 tallest presidents.
That's crazy. But I mean, if you look at it, that's the way it is. And I always like to quote this comedian, so don't come at me, all the other people that are out there, is that they were saying it's like the only people that are the most inclusive and everything like that, and always the first ones to be fully inclusive has been the porn industry. They got every category you need.
That's
Yeah.
fair. That's fair. And every year, I'll just say PH. Those who know, they release that map that says most searched term, and Ebony's always the most searched term in the southern states
You're
for
hilarious.
whatever that's worth.
I like the quote here, the PH.
Once again, you
right?
can't hide from that anonymized data.
Oh man, Brian, what you say? T looks shorter. I'm not sure who T is, but we're gonna keep moving. All right, so we were talking about the money side of the house. Obviously, we gotta move on to the fourth topic here. What is
Okay, cool.
this one here? It's talking about why is social media hell bent on telling people $100,000 is not a lot of money? Yes, I understand inflation and cost of living. $100,000 doesn't go as far as it used to, but the point still remains it is a lot of money. So, what I'm saying? One of the things that I'm going back and forth on it because I mean, yeah, $100,000 is a lot, but it's $100,000 in cash versus gross versus net. There's a difference because $100,000 in gross, I mean, you may be pulling about maybe 50, 60, you pushing 70 when it comes to taxes, depending on how your taxes are written up, and also whatever your expenses. But if you're contributing, if you're maxing out your Roth and then you're maxing out your traditional retirement accounts, you're looking at about maybe 65 if I did my calculations right.
I'm not going to disagree with you. It looks like I'm playing on my phone, but I'm playing with purpose. So I
I know
also
you good.
dropped what's 100,000 from in every United States, not accounting for Roth. So if you give me a state, I can tell you the take home pay for all 50. I think excluding Wyoming. I think I ran out of time. I don't have a lot of followers from Wyoming, so I like dropped.
All right, let's go with the top.
I don't have an order, so let's
Okay.
let's do Alabama, which is actually probably. I don't know how many Alabama listeners you have, but I'm going to guess they're at the bottom. So they probably take home the most. So take home salary for single filers in Alabama is $73,000. So from a gross of 100,000, they're taking home 73,000. Married fathers take home 79,000, 79,569. This is on my Instagram if y'all want to see this video. I'll go to California.
I mean,
I'll hit the
I'm
big
online. I can just go to you.
yeah, well, it's gonna play. So I'll hit the big states. The states that most represented my followers are California, New York, and then I guess it's not randomly the city of Atlanta. So the states of California, the state of New York, and the city of Atlanta. So I'll hit California. Their take home pay is 72,000, 81,000 for married fathers, which is interesting because you ever well, maybe it doesn't happen to you. It bothers me as an auditor. Like, you ever had someone just drop a fact, but there's no way to validate one way or the other. So this guy was like, I live in California and take home after taxes like 35,000. I was like,
go with that.
All right, my guy. All right, I think you need to fire your CPA. But that being said, I let it slide because I can't invalidate his experience. Everyone's lived experience. Colorado take home is 74 and 80,000. Then I'll scroll over to New York, and New Jersey. So I'll hit it on the way. New Jersey take home 73,000, 81,000. And the reason I like dropping these as well, these are all cited from it was published by Go Bakery Rates. I think they pulled it from the U.S. Census Bureau. They might have used the Social Security Administration. But number one, it's sourced. And even though they're still going to do it, at least it shuts up the liars. People are like, well, I make 150,000 and my take home pay was $15 an hour. I'm like, you're doing something wrong. Then that's a you problem.
That's a you problem, right?
You're like, you are filing your taxes incorrectly. Then New York,
obviously it's just them, right?
Right, exactly. Take home is 72,000, but I think they also have several other taxes. This is probably federal tax. So, but basically, yeah, you're taking home about 73. I'll even lowball. Let's say you're taking home 70,000 across the United States after 100,000 gross. Still about 6,000 to play with. And I have foreshadowing. I got a video in the queue. My next video is going to look at how Americans spend their budget. And that actually lines up because the average household spends 60,000 a year.
I think that's about right. I'm curious on a breakdown on how much they spend on food versus housing expenses.
Housing is the top.
Yeah.
And I don't remember the dollar amount, but it's 30% transportation, cars, cars, trucks, and rural buses, trains, automobiles, and connected cities was second. And I want to say 17%. Something like that. But the thing I found fascinating is, and the reason I like looking at all this, is 60% is those top three. So 30% is housing off top. So your next 30%, however you mix it up between transportation and food, whether you ball out on food or ball out on transportation, more than half of the average American's budget is gone on just their top three expenses, with a third of it being keeping a roof over their head.
Yeah, we gotta change that narrative. But we got relationships to worry about, right? So
I'm just gonna laugh. and the other reason I was chuckling, because you're gonna point this out anyway, chuckling earlier, is because you said something, and so I got this black ring, which you see is unoccupied on my finger. I keep it on a ring by the nightstand. I didn't put it on before the show, and it's so heavy I can tell when it's off or on. I was like,
right.
So, and I heard her come in behind. She might even be laughing to this. Well, she probably not laughing, but she's gonna point this out later. So, in another video I have on the black ring that should be occupied this finger.
Oh, well, the funny thing is like, I mean, this is one of the things that me and my wife, we did a live talking about. It was wearing the wedding rings and stuff like that. It's like, doesn't matter. And if any, for us, it didn't matter. Like for us, we didn't care. So like, it was like early on, like I did wear a lot of jewelry, but rings wasn't one of those things. Like I would wear a bracelet or a necklace first before I even put on a ring. And if I wore rings, it was either on my thumb or index finger and stuff like that. So, to actually put on the wedding ring, I was like, all right, well, okay. And then I got a couple other ones, like the rubber ones that you get from like Amazon or whatever, like the 6-pack. So just in case you lose one, that's what. And she wanted to get me those because I was like, maybe something a little lighter because the metal's a little heavy, like you said. You bring it up, bring it right back down. But it, after a while, so I'm starting to put it back on. Obviously, I ain't got it on today, but I was trying my best. And then, this one time I was like, gotta go to work. Forgot about it. So
I appreciate not only for saying all of that, but especially that last piece, because I don't wear it around the house, and I work from home 90% of the time. So it's not like this nefarious activity. Like, I know I'm married at home. You are my wife who lives with me. Like, I hope you know I'm married and I'm your husband. I'm like, I can't sleep with it because my finger swells and it goes up and down.
see,
It wakes me up. So now I got this 5-pound weight on my finger and my finger swells. So I don't wear it at night. From time to time, I'll forget to put it on in the morning. I know we are. It's because I'm passionate about this subject. I'm arguing, litigating my case. Because this will be the only part of the video she pays attention to.
Right.
So yeah, I was like, her favorite activity, because it is a thing here. Her favorite activity is to know, because it's in the restroom, the ring stand. She sees I didn't put it on. We got a 3-story house. She waits till I come down and I'm pulling out the garage. So I got my hand on the drive. She's like, ain't gonna wear your ring today.
Oh, about
now I gotta work up a sweat, mess up my work clothes. The rare time I do go into the office,
right?
But
yo, you better get the 6-pack. I'm telling you, just keep it packed in the car.
I thought about getting a few. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I think it's anything. It's just to show that people, hey, you're taking.
I get it. I just wanted to be clear. It's not the man. Get this ring off me. Out here in the streets. It is literally like whatever. I work from home 90% of the time.
The metal rings. I think it's there to lock you in. You know what I'm saying? Because I was talking to another guy at work. They was like, why don't you wear your ring all the time? I was like, well, first off, my finger swelled and it's stuck, and then I gotta sit there and put lotion on and move it off. Like, I'm home. And then, one guy was like, yeah, usually before you're married, you skinny, and then you gain that first 25 pounds, and then you get fat so that the ring never comes off. And I was like, well, I like my skin to breathe, so I got the rubber rings. Like,
actually, this ties very well. People are like, man, what kind of diatribe are these people on? It actually ties to item number 5, topic 5, which ties to topic 3.
Yep.
I'm like a comedian. I'm bringing it all home. Put a bow.
I got you.
There you go.
Teamwork. Look at that. We in there. Fire.
I promise. I thought I was gonna lose my finger one time because we flew to London.
Right.
And, I swelled up like I'm not young as I used to be. I look like a baked potato in there, or a yam, more accurately. And like I was like, I'm gonna lose my finger on this airplane, mess around with this ring that I didn't want to put on anyway. Right. This 5-pound ring.
That I was looking out the window.
I wore it through the airport. I I'm so old. I got a little like naps. I should actually plug it on Amazon. I'm gonna look it up. Y'all need it. So it got a little hood to come over. It's a blanket. It's a pillow, and it turned into a whole hood.
Oh, that's cool.
I'm in there with my Snuggie, and it's got a little zipper right here. I was like, I'm gonna put my ring in here. She gonna put your ring where? I was like, you know what? Never mind. It's gonna stay on my finger. Almost lost it on the flight. That being said, so relationship goals.
Right. Use that as a relationship segue. No, what you do is get a couple cheap rings from Amazon. People be sleeping on Amazon rings. They good. Okay, $35.
Mine now has a chip in it, so she would know when the day that I ain't got the official. I'm gonna move on. Relationship goals. And the reason this ties to topic number 3. So I'll drop the quote that while I was researching this one that it blew my mind, but maybe it blew my mind as an old man. Mm-hmm. And I'm reminded of a TikTok that foreshadowed this. I was watching this TikTok. I don't know if this has happened to you yet. I think I'm in a different generation where you find yourself literally yelling at the screen. And a young man, he had his camera on him. He was taking not a selfie, he was taking a video. And there was a woman behind him. Mm-hmm. And he was like, yo, internet, do your thing. And I'm like, do what thing?
Right.
The woman is behind you.
Right. He said behind you.
Go talk to her. Asterisk. Let's put a pin in that. Mm-hmm. When I was doing the research for relationship goals, they said that 45% of men 18 to 25 have never approached a woman. 1 in 3 men in their entire lives, regardless of age, have never approached a woman.
That's interesting.
So what we're looking at here, that red line, 1980, when I was out here with a literal black book and a pen, struggling. I had to walk up.
Oh, you had the black book. Okay.
I had a black book.
Right.
And I had to walk up. It was alphabetical order. And you had to hope that you didn't have 2 Britneys that evening. Because the ink would still be fresh and the page would be like, did you just get Brittany with an I? And I'm like, man, no, that's like 4 weeks old. The humidity in Texas, we make the humidity. You know what I'm saying? So predating Nokia 5100, I ain't had none of that. Like I was out here in these streets.
I imagine the model.
Women down there when that red line didn't exist. That being said, as you can see, it skews up. And the last time they did this study in 2017, I think it was, 39% of couples had met online. And this is, it's not another joke. It's from Stanford, Stanford redoes. I think they've been doing this study since 1950, how couples meet. And then the next part of this line is the forecast. They think the next time they do this study over for the foreseeable future, like people will only meet online. So me yelling at my screen, I'm actually the exception. I'm the old man. I'm the old man yelling at the cloud in this meme. You know what I'm saying? Then like what's the other breakdown here? Through friends, that blue
neighbors.
line. Used to be the primary way people met, which I thought was insane because I would let my friends introduce me to a sack lunch, let alone the woman of my dreams.
Not the sack. Oh, okay, the woman. Okay, I was like, yo, a sack lunch.
I would depend on my friends to get me a meal from McDonald's, man.
Right.
Well, maybe that's a reflection of my friends.
Because that's interesting. Because for me, when I got back into the dating game, I was like, I wanted somebody that's outside of my friends, like somebody that I don't know that's different. And that's the reason why I went to the online round. That's how I met my wife, was online. So, the statistic is me. I'm part of this thing now. So how did you and your wife meet?
I was hoping you were going to ask that question because we met online.
But
that's because she wasn't here. We debate. I say we debate in that she's wrong because she can't correct me because she's not on this podcast. And that she says I was the aggressor. So we followed each other. We actually met on Twitter, which is I don't even think that's included in this online. But we followed each other on Twitter. We ran in the same online circles. And at that time, I didn't know she was from Denver, where I was living. She jumped. Now, this is the part where we don't disagree. She jumped in my DMs. Now, I was in my 30s at that time. I don't know how many women have been in your DMs over the years, but in my case, her. The list is 1. And she asked me some arbitrary question. Now, how many people are there online? This was
billions of people.
10, 20 years ago, but billions. There's billions of people online. And she's like, hey, she asked me about Ebony. Essence Fest. She's like, hey, how's Essence Fest? Blah, 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 BS. Yeah. I'm like, she wants the D. I took this as an open invite. I took this as an open invite off the backboard. She says she maintains this lie to this day that she just wanted out of the billions of people that she could have connected with online to talk to information for Essence Festival. My wife, who's now upstairs and eventually will watch this episode and argue with me again.
It'd be funny if you were watching this live.
Come running down the stairs, kicks in the door. Put your ring on. I did just want Essence Festival information.
Right.
So that's my 5th hot topic. That one actually took off. I was surprised. That's like number 3 right now. That's like the number 3 trending topic of the year. It's got like 900 likes, a ridiculous amount of shares. So people are really into that one. Maybe they're sending it to the DMs of their future wife or husband.
I don't know. Well, one of the things I like about what we did, because we met on Tinder, and it was a little easier to kind of like say like, you just swipe or whatever. And at the time, my circle was kind of small, but I got tired of seeing the same people. So I broadened it out a little bit. And then my wife happened to pop up, but she was like in the DC region and was up in the Baltimore region. So it's like, I'm not for the long distance. some people who say it ain't long distance, still an hour in the drive. Like to see somebody, no. Like I'd rather for you to be like 10 minutes around the corner. Like I'm off work, you off work. All right, cool. Let's go for lunch, and then back at it.
My God, you East Coasters. I mean,
No,
an
no,
hour in Texas, that ain't nothing but a trip to the mall.
Oh,
One way.
one way. Oh no,
One way.
no. That mall ain't happening. Like it was a mall literally like 10 minutes away from my house. I was like, yeah,
ain't nothing but a hop and a skip, boy.
yeah. See, that's probably why you and your wife work at Essence Festival.
I don't even think she ever went.
She never went. You know, you should ask her, right?
I'm gonna look, man. You know what? I don't feel like arguing tonight.
You gotta go to sleep. Make sure you go to sleep with the ring
on a night when I feel like arguing. I'm I don't think she ever even freaking went to Essence Festival.
Yeah, you should go on and say like, you know, I love you, baby, and then just go to sleep. Don't say nothing else. You're like,
I brought her dinner, man. So I think I just saw a study today that said, I don't want to misquote it, but it's something about full wife, happy life.
full what? Oh, that's funny.
So she's got dinner upstairs. Everything's taken care of for the podcast.
Nice. Well, so those were your top 5 topics for the day.
Financial hot topics, 2023, 2024.
So is there anything else you want to leave the folks for tonight?
If y'all enjoy this, for the folks watching on YouTube, you can find me at The Marcus Garrett. I host Life After Debt with The Marcus Garrett, entertaining conversations with your favorite influencers and entrepreneurs about life after debt.
Oh, this guy with deep books, life after debt.
Yeah, man, I could have been doing your ad libs, but you know a guy that knows a guy.
Oh yeah, maybe next time. Let's see if I can try to get there. Let's see. You're listening to the About That Water podcast show. the After Dark edition. Talk about relationships, man. Right. But it'll be we should probably have to do that. I really want to do I so want to do a radio show. Like just strictly like After Dark radio show. I need to find out a radio show that got no listeners and just knock it out.
There used to be a way you could host podcasts through the radio. I don't even know that platform's still around, but it would push it. You'd find I think it was AM station. It would push it to the open AM station.
Mm-hmm. It wasn't too.
The old heads out there probably know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
The original podcast gang. Shout out to Young Blood.
Yeah, I'm still new. I think I started. Yeah, I started in 2020. So, but still early. Cool. All right, Marcus, man, this was actually a great show. So
appreciate you.
Call to action, CTA. For those of you who don't know what it is, what I want you to do, go right now. If you haven't already, go down, like, subscribe, check out Marcus, the Marcus Garrett, and on all the lovely social platforms. And then obviously you can find me on all of your lovely podcast episodes and platforms all over the place at About That Wallet, even on Twitch, IG, YouTube, wherever. I'm out there. Find me. And I'm trying to get to the point where you can Google me. But we in there. All right, everybody. Y'all be safe. Marcus, you can hang on for a little bit. I'm gonna just play the outro and then we in there. Deuces. And my outro.